Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our very first Peace Talk event. Um, Bear with us, this is our first time. We went over time already. There are some technical difficulties, but we will only, like Pokemon, just improve and evolve and become better and stronger. As a short introduction about myself, I will be the one moderating this talk this evening. I am Benoit. I am 25. I am from Belgium. My general interests are history, politics, philosophy, but of course also youth involvement and volunteering. As of the organization and that I am part of and who is organizing this event, this is done by the European Youth team. It is basically a bunch of young people from all over Europe, and also some that are actually not in Europe or not going to be in Europe, but from all kinds of different backgrounds, who all came together after the November conference to be more involved, to take more action. Then a short word about our partner or sister or parents organizations. These are, of course, PeaceJam Europe. This is just the European branch of the PeaceJam foundations. And then PeaceJam itself. PeaceJam is an organization that was founded in 20 years ago. And that is an international organization whose mission statement is to create young leaders committed to positive change in themselves, their communities, and the world through the inspiration of Nobel Peace Laureates. And they try to do so by basically empowering young people. Like I said already, this is organized by the European Youth Team because we wanted to take a bit more action. One of these actions, of course, is this event. We are planning, depending on how popular this is, planning on doing this bi-monthly, so 2 times a month. Future topics might be about politics, might be about the environment, might be about equality, and the people who we bring on to this shows will probably always be young people from PeaceJam or friends or people who are involved with volunteering in one way or the other. Then a short practical side of this, just to give you a brief overview of how this conversation is going to go. Today, we'll just have a very chill, informal conversation about volunteering. The conversation is not scripted, so it could go whatever way our guests want it to go. But the general idea is that we just keep it respectful, civil, and we just have a nice chat about, why we volunteer, why we think it's important. Do we think it's important? Do we think it can make a change? Those questions we will all address this evening. Like I said already, this is our pilot episode, so bear with us. There will be technical difficulties. Things might seem a bit unstructured, but we will get better. We will start this evening off by introducing our lovely guests. Then I will kick things off by asking a first open question. From there, I will just let the conversation flow freely. If I feel that we reached a stalemate, I will just interject, or I will ask a follow-up question if I think it's necessary. Or, of course, in the worst case, I will also interject if a fight happens to break out. Although I don't think it will be necessary. They're all super peaceful tonight. Speaking of which, of course, welcome to our wonderful guests here. I would like you to introduce yourself, and I will also ask one random question. Let's maybe go by alphabet. So, Giulia, if you want to go first, and for you, the question is, what was the last song that you listened to?
Yeah, that's a good one. So I start with that. Actually, it's not, maybe you wouldn't find it very, very appealing, but I do listen to a lot of classical music while I work. So I've been listening to Vivaldi for seasons. Quite good. Maybe you've heard it in, in some advertising or commercial. It's quite palatable. So yeah, so I'm Giulia. I'm Italian by origin. I actually studied in the UK, and now I'm based in Belgium, like Benoit. I've been volunteering ever since I remember, to be honest. So in different capacities, but mostly with the Rotaract and Rotary, and that's how I met Luke. And that's also why I got involved into PeaceJam, and I'm very happy that I kept on. So I mostly do volunteering around environmental issues because that's what my background is about. And also because I'm an engineer, so I do a lot of volunteering around gender equality and getting more female and in the pipeline of STEM subjects. So getting more female interested in mathematics, science, and so on.
Perfect. That's wonderful to hear. Next up will be Luke. For you, the question is, what was the last book that you read?
Oh, very good question. The last book I read, technically the book that I'm reading right now, is called The Dark Lady by Akala. Akala is a rapper and spoken word artist from the UK, and it's a novel set in London back in the 1800s, and it's a kind of perspective of a young person, a young black guy in London around the time of Shakespeare and his experiences at that time. So I've just started it. So it's technically not the last one I read, but I can't remember the last one I read, but it's the one that I'm going through at the moment. Good question. So my name is Luke. I am 28. I'm from London, England, and I am a drama and English teacher. And really, it's my work as a drama and English teacher that got me into the kind of volunteering world, as I call it. I went to university in Winchester in Hampshire in the UK, firstly to study drama. The drama that I was studying originally was drama as in acting, wanting to be an actor. Very quickly, I changed my modules to not go down the route of acting, but instead down the route of teaching. I found there was a lot more in the kind of process of drama than there was in the kind of the overall product. I enjoyed a lot more of the process and the product. So through that, I started to connect to some local organizations. That's how I met an organization called Rotary. And through them, I was invited to some schools and some youth projects, and was able to use this kind of drama teaching degree that I was doing to kind of branch out and learn more about the community that I was living in. So that kind of set the ball rolling for me for volunteering. So I was about sort of 19, 20. I'd just come to university to a new city I wasn't from. And it was a really, really unique way for me to get to know the area that I'd moved to, and certainly get to know some of the people around me while developing these brilliant skills. And 10 years later, I am now a drama teacher, and it is what I do for my work. And again, the reason I got connected to PeaceJam.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that introduction. Last but not least, Michael, for you, the question is, what is the last movie that you watched?
Oh, that's amazing. I am feeling kind of rewatching some of it, so I am in the middle of a Marvel marathon.
Yeah.
So for me, it had to be, I think it was the Avenger, the Age of Ultron, the last one that I saw. So I am in that era, and I am moving on. Yeah, I really miss the movies. That's hurt my feelings. I used to love going to the cinema, and because of the COVID, everything is closed, so it is hurtful. So yeah, my name is Michael Varvoglis. I am 20 years old, going 21 September. I started volunteering when I was I think it was 14 from my school. Like our school motto was non ministrare sed ministrare, which is, if some of you know Latin, because I did not know I did not know anything about Latin. It's just to help other people but not to be helped by them. Yep. So I started there on my school, and then this is where I met Miss Ellen Frustis, and she got me introduced into PeaceJam Greece. Most of PeaceJammers know Miss Ellen because she's here. She has been around here for the last 10 years for sure. And the last year, she gave me and Odysseus Diamadopoulos to be in charge of PeaceJam Greece. So we're trying to reconstruct it to have it back as a youth team as we had it, because with the COVID we lost a lot of people who are not like interested because they went back to their country, to their own cities. So yeah, I am also studying computer science, which is has nothing to do with volunteering. I am a light designer as a hobby, so I do lights. I fix the lights on the clubs. Yeah, I think that's all. And I also do. I am a co-owner of Vodafone Sopar Europolis in Athens, which is the family shop that we have. So I am also trying to help the family through this hard era. I think that's all.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. I think we all are all feeling like the effects of COVID. Still, there's some people who are a bit more lucky than others. I think Luke in the UK, you are opening things up again, but the rest of us we're still very much stuck. Cool. Thank you very much. I think you all touched upon it already, but my first question was how exactly, like, do you remember specifically the moment that you got involved in volunteering, and what was that moment? Like, what made you say, like, hey, maybe I should give this a shot, maybe, let's give this a chance. Yeah, if there's like one specific thing, I'd love to hear that. But also if there's like maybe a big build up, maybe you saw things growing up. I think this is what I'm mostly interested in, like hearing you talk about. So please, whoever feels like they can give like a concrete answer, go for it.
Who wants to go first? You choose, Benoit. It's not fair. It might cause a fight.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Well, let's see. I think we heard from Luke. I think from you as well. I think I think most people know you that are watching this. Because you seem to be like the person mostly responsible for the European youth team, bringing it all together and keeping us motivated. So yeah, let's start with you. If you feel like something resonates with you, like for Giulia and Michael, please interject, pick in, and maybe say, oh yeah, that was me as well, or no, totally not. Please, yeah, I want this to be fluent. Think that you're in a bar. Think that we are just having a normal conversation.
Super. Cool. Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, for me, there were opportunities during school to volunteer, and growing up, I did a few things, but it never really, I never really got a real focus on it or an interest in it. I was, not very aware of my community or my sort of social kind of network. It was only when I got to university, and I'd made this shift into moving into drama teaching rather than the practical side of drama. And I found this kind of a very ironic chicken and egg situation where every time I'd contact an organization to work with them or get some experience, I'd say, look, I'm trying to be a drama teacher. Can I come and work with you? They'd say, well, what experience do you have? And I'd say, well, I don't have anything. And they'd say, well, I'm sorry, we can't really let you in if you don't have any experience. And I think, well, where are you supposed to get this experience first in order to start going? And not many organizations would take a risk. It was the same experience. And I wanted to work just in a bar or a pub. And I said, can I come and work? And they said, do you have any experience? And you said, no. I said, well, then no. So you sort of think, well, how do you get started if no one's willing to take a risk? So, and it was in a similar way for me with the teaching. So I was given some advice to basically go and try and find some opportunities and experiences to build up this CV, this experience thing that then people would then bring me into that network. So I was at university and I saw this event, which was a session with people talking about leadership. I went on it because I thought it sounded quite interesting. One of the people who was a speaker was from the Winchester Rotary Club, and they did a little presentation. And at the end of that presentation, they said, oh, and if anyone's free next week, we're doing an event, and the event is called Kids Day Out, where we're basically taking about 1,000 young people from the UK who mostly have special needs or learning difficulties, and we're taking them to a theme park for the day. if anyone wants to help, we need as many people as we can get. And I sort of looked around and no one really kind of moved, but I was sat there thinking, this could be my opportunity. This is the experience that everyone's been asking for. So after the talk, I spoke to the guy. I said, look, I'd love to sign up. How can I help? They signed me up. I went along. I hadn't really been involved in the kind of Winchester community yet. I'd been living there a little while, but not really done anything overly exciting. And there I was the following week going to a theme park on a bus full of sort of 30 kids. And I always remember they said, right, Luke, you're in charge of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 5. Take them around the park, whatever they want to do it, off you go. And we're doing rides, we're doing these wild things, and it was so brilliant. And then we came back. I spoke to the Rotary people who had set it up, and I said, what is this? How often do you do it? I thought it was just a kind of single event. They said, oh, we're part of this network that basically creates these kinds of opportunities in the community. We've got loads more things like this coming up. We're happy to tell you about them, and you're welcome to join them if you want to. So we were I had a couple of friends with me as well, and we said, yeah, what can we help you with? And we started to do, there was an event called the Cycle Fest where they converted Winchester into a kind of bike friendly area, and there was opportunities to learn about bicycles and get your bike fixed for free and that kind of thing. Then we were marshalling at marathons and helping out all these different kind of organizations across Winchester. And I think for me, that was definitely the kind of moment where I felt like, because I'd moved to that city specifically for university, as a university student in a new city, you feel sometimes like you're a bit of maybe that you're looked at a bit negatively by the community that you've moved into, because students have a bit of reputation for being loud and drunk and reckless, and sometimes that reputation is fair enough. But I think not many people see students as being a kind of positive influence on an area, and I think that in that way it's not easy then for a student to kind of move to an area and make a positive impact in that community. And for me, that really did seem to bridge those two things together. And I thought, wow, where else would I have met, schools, the homeless shelter, the people that run the marathons, the people that run these charities all across Winchester. And suddenly I was just thrown into this world of volunteering. And it was just like a snowball. The more I said yes, and again, being a student, I had a lot of free time. I just kept saying yes to things, and people kept saying, oh, we're doing this thing next week, we're running this event, we need an extra pair of hands. And I said, well, could probably get some friends. Found out all my friends were pretty free as well. And before we knew it, we had this little group regularly attending events and projects and stuff. So for me, when I really trace back to this kind of pinnacle moment, I think that was definitely it. It was this event, this Kids Day Out.
Yeah, and if I can come in, just because I study in Scotland, and actually I do remember the Rotary Kids Day Out, and as one of the highlights of summer in my events. And indeed, Rotaract and Rotary is a good place to start, where it gives you a lot of volunteering opportunity and gets your hands kind of in there with different things. Actually, if you're interested in environments, and like you can go and plant trees, but also if you're interested in helping out homeless, there are plenty of opportunities there. And if I have to trace back my interest and passion for volunteering, is actually have to be when I was a teenager still in Italy, and at the time it was around Christmas, and one of my friends asked me what I was doing for Christmas, and I was like, well, I don't know, I'm just gonna stay with my family and do Christmassy things. And actually the friend was going to a kitchen soup and prepare a warm meal for homeless, and then like I decided to to get involved as well. And I find it very touching how that's how to spend your Christmas, and giving back to your community, and serving the people who need it the most. And so that's how I started. And then ever since, of course, I'm back into different type of volunteering, and with children, but again related to the environment, but yeah, and I think it's volunteering. While I was a student, it was a very good way to create community around, and actually finding people that have the same values as you have, and value the same things. And secondly, is also a way to connect with your community. And if you move to a new country, for example, I've moved to a few countries now for work and study, etc. My first point of contact is actually volunteering groups and okay, beside our specific Rotary Vortract, but that's something that, like, you know, it's kind of feel family outside your home.
Cool. Yeah, thank you very much. Just to explain what happened with Michael. Again, like I said in the beginning, technical difficulties. Michael's internet got hijacked or got destroyed, and now he'll be joining us from his computer, so we won't see his wonderful face anymore, but we can still hear him, of course. I don't know if you want to pitch in, Michael, please.
Yeah. So unfortunately, you won't be able to hear me. But yeah, you won't be able to see me. You will be able to hear me though. Yeah. Do you want me to follow the question? I missed the whole conversation about the questions. I'm really sorry about that because everything froze for me. But I remember the question. Are we still on the same question about? Wait,
Yes,
it was about
exactly.
how I got into volunteering, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Luke and Giulia described the ways that they got into it. For Luke, it was during his university years, and with Julia as well, but she also did some things with her family, right? And correct
Yep.
me if I misrepresent you.
All right. So, for me, as I said, it started on high school. It was about the 12th or the 13th grade. I don't know how it's in the US, how the grades are going. I was around 13 years old when that happened. So I was in school. We were having a lesson, and I remember a teacher just popping on and be like, "Who wants to come here on Saturday just to help the school and meet the new, possibly new students of the school?" Because, like, for us to get in the school, because it was a private school, you had to give some exams, and if you were qualified, and if they accepted you, and if you passed the test, then you could get inside the school. So they were like, "Do you want to meet the students who are coming to take the tour of the school and see the teachers and all of that, and get a little tour and preview of the school before they sign up for the exams?" And I'm like, I remember immediately when I heard that I just jumped off my seat and be like, just sign me up. And through that, we had around 10 people helping us out. 10 first, second grade of high school, 20, 13, 14-year-old kids. And then all of them bailed out last second. So I was the last one and the only one on Saturday, having to run around and get everybody in a whole theater so they don't just overstep. No, like, no one is keeping seats from other ones, so everybody can get in and see the whole presentation. So yeah, and through that, the school saw that, and they were like, they really liked my work, and they wanted me to become a school ambassador. And also they gave me they shortened my fee of the school because of that. They were like, we liked what you did, so you're here. Thank you for that. And they just put me into their ambassadors, and they cut off some of my fee. So yeah, that's, and from that I just, almost every Saturday I was at school running events, and in every event they just put me inside.
Cool. Yeah, that's so wonderful to hear. I think something that connects all of your stories is this somehow this feeling of wanting and or needing to help people, right? Where do you think that came from, or why do you think? I mean, why do you think that feeling got over you?
I think it was it must have come from my family, because I always remember everyone from my family being like, okay, you should help other people and you should not always look on yourself, and there's up and downs in your life, and when you are in a good position in your life, someone else might not be, so help them out, so when you're in need, someone else will turn around and help you. So I think from that, I always had this big idea of, put someone else in front of you, and I am still going on with that I do not care if something is going to affect me, negatively. And if it's gonna affect somebody else positively, it's gonna make someone else smile, I'm gonna do it. And I don't care if it's gonna take around 10, 12 hours of hard work to do it. If it's gonna put a smile on the face, I'm done for it. I'm just running it.
Come on, don't be shy, please. Please jump in. Yeah.
Giulia, after you.
Yeah, I think I like what Michael said about family and like how it shapes you. I think for me it was a bit of that as well, of how to just being brought up, just caring for others for sure. But also, I think just naturally, as we human beings, we just want to connect deeply with other people, and like we just want to, to just be more than just us. And I think volunteering is just a good way to connect with other people, and also. For me, it was a very strong sense of giving back to community, and of course, I've had tons of people that have helped me through my way, and not maybe in tangible ways, but like with their time and like with their experience, etc. And giving back. For example, many things I do is like giving back to younger people. Maybe people still at universities or like even younger, and try. And I think it's very powerful. Like even what PeaceJam does, you can just be a role model, like be an access to other role models, and
Yeah, and I guess for me, as well as those things, I think it was that realization of how difficult life can be for some people, especially those that you maybe hadn't expected it to be. So, for example, when I went to university in Winchester, Winchester is quite an affluent city. It's known for having a big cathedral, having a high street, and people that live in Winchester generally it's assumed are relatively wealthy. The same as people sometimes assume people who live in London, are very wealthy, and many are. In the same way, that there are others that are not. And the more I started to become involved in the community of Winchester and to start to see the people that lived there, I think that really opened my eyes to the sorts of struggles that I hadn't really seen or even thought about before. So we started to run some events, some sort of social events for young people, and we had a young guy come and join us for lots of the events. He started to help us out with some of our projects. He was really, really brilliant. And we obviously started to talk to him after a couple of times and asked sort of, what he did in his spare time. And it turned out he was actually homeless. He was a young guy that was homeless in Winchester. And all of us, being students, not from the area, or some of us were local, were very surprised. We thought, you're homeless, in Winchester. And when we sort of got down to it, and he explained, his situation and how it happened, and it was a really, really unique situation. And we realized that suddenly this kind of homeless community that we were helping, we suddenly, had been connected to someone who was from that community. And I think it just really did surprise us all, because you don't really think about things like that until you sort of see it firsthand. And I think another example was we were doing some projects for the food bank. So in the UK, we have lots of food banks now, which are essentially little shops where it's free or very, very reduced products for families who are on a reduced income or living in poverty, of which there are many. Can access food, at lower costs. And you almost make that assumption. Well, it's Winchester, it's UK. Is there a need for food banks? Then you go and volunteer at one, and you see how many people are accessing the food banks, and they're not. And again, another example is, the sort of general view of, someone that might access a food bank again is really challenged, because what your preconceptions might be like, suddenly there were whole families with kids, or there were people who were, men who were in suits who were working and had to just stop to get it was really, really amazing once you started meeting these people from the community and seeing the needs that they had. And it was just something that you'd never even have thought of, if you're just a student in a town, or maybe if you're a tourist and you go to holiday in London, or you come to visit Winchester for the day and you see the cathedral and the great hills and you leave, never really pay any attention to the kind of communities within it. And I think that for me, that was kind of one of the biggest things that sparked this kind of desire to, for me being a student in the city, I thought, well, I live here, I'm going to university here, I've got a lot of free time, I can use the time that I've got to at least try and benefit some of the people that live here that maybe aren't as fortunate as me through their circumstances. And I think as I then moved around, I moved to London, I moved back to where I was born, just outside London. I moved to Vietnam in 2018 for a year. And as I kind of moved around and had this mentality of, wanting to be involved in communities and wanting to kind of understand the inner workings of them and how you can be useful to a community that you're living in, and lots of people think, well, I don't have any skills, there's nothing I can do. And you think, well, if you're free in an evening, there's so many things you can do. You can volunteer out, or you can help with, or you can go out, you can make something yourself. And it was just that mentality, really. It was sort of seeing that kind of stuff for the first time that really motivated me to keep going.
Yeah, I think Luke, you touched upon something very interesting. Is that our perception of society changes a lot when we interact, of course, with that society. When we volunteer, your perception changes on certain social issues, or maybe even on certain cultures, or maybe certain stereotypes get challenged a lot. And my question to the rest of you, but also maybe for you as well, Luke, if you have another example, what's like the biggest shock, I guess, that you experienced? What's the biggest misconception that you held yourself, and that once you actually started to go out there, that was then challenged, and that you actually made you think about stereotypes and about like how we see the world?
Well, yeah, just to answer that, and then I'll hand over to Giulia or Michael. I think one of the things that shocked me, and I guess through that shock was one of the main reasons why I wanted to get involved in doing something. The shock came from the fact that not enough seemed to be being done. So it was one thing to recognize that there was homelessness in Winchester, which was surprising. It was another thing to recognize that there were huge amounts of people accessing food banks in Winchester. But then it was the realization that, well, not only why is this a problem to begin with, but also, why is this even a problem at all? And why are people not doing enough to help that? Why is the food bank or the homeless shelter struggling to fundraise, their own funds to keep going? And there's real imbalance of inequality. And I think that was a real shock for us. Another thing was we started to work with an organization that would do youth counseling, so counseling for young people that were dealing with mental health issues. And the lists, the waiting lists that were enormous, huge lists of people, but the funding, the support available, the staff, did not match the high needs that were required. So there were people who were in really dark situations that would be put on waiting lists or being not looked after properly. And I think that was the biggest shock for me, because you kind of have that assumption of, well, again, you're living in the UK or living in Winchester, where there's a need, there must be some kind of budget or some kind of committee or some kind of government body to address it. But I guess one of the things that really did shock me was this not only was that a problem to begin with, but there were the solutions to fix it just weren't being addressed or being acted upon. And it was through the kind of volunteering work that I was doing, once we started to work with community groups or with the Rotary Club or the food banks, you started to learn that actually many of them are on their own. They're fundraising their own costs for staff, for the building that they run. Then the building is about to have its rents doubled and be evicted. And you think that these are charities. These exist to help people, but they're struggling to even survive themselves. And I think, to be honest, in the sort of 10 or so years that I've been doing kind of volunteer work, I think that's still the biggest thing that shocks me is, when we talk about peace, when we talk about kind of social issues like homelessness and mental health, the environment, things that impact us all, surprisingly enough, these are the areas that are not always, but mostly underfunded, underrepresented, and don't have enough of the kind of resources going to them. It's burden is kind of shifted to another group of people who try their very best to kind of chip away at the problem. So I think that for me, is both shocking and frustrating. Over to you, Giulia.
Well, I guess Luke already touched upon some very good points, especially the mismatching between funds and the real necessity. And here I think it just opens up a huge Pandora box, especially if you've been to developing countries or like low income countries. And Luke has been there. I have been there as well, but I won't touch upon that specifically. But I think another big big thing that is really enlightening is that, and sometimes people don't realize, is how little of your time can really make a difference. And for example, something I used to do a lot and now sadly don't anymore is just going and volunteer in elderly homes. And that really, like, you can really see how little of your time, like if you spend just an hour on a Sunday talking to people in a elderly home that maybe you don't have many visits, you can really see the impact. And again, maybe there is this misconception that volunteering costs a lot of money, or nowadays, sadly, or costs a lot of time. But actually, it's not. And especially, if you manage to find to find something you're passionate about, if you care about animals, then just find your local animal shelter, and I'm sure like they'll be happy to have you a couple of hours a week. And or if you're passionate about anything else, you can find it. And be also think about what other resources at the time you may be able to give. Like maybe that you can give money and okay, you can do that, you can donate. But also nowadays, if you're a very powerful person on social media, like you can get access to other people, like to those volunteering association. Like you can give access to your social network, and that's something quite valuable to them. Like and think about any other ways you could help. And over to Michael.
Yeah, for me, the thing that I saw is that in Greece, that happens in Greece particularly, people do not know that there are a lot of things that they can work with. Like you said, that they do not know that they can just spend 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week, and help someone. And I saw that when I was 18. Like I was working with a shelter of kids who were here because of the whole refugee thing that's happening in Greece, and that I saw a lot of kids being there and a lot of kids wanting someone to just talk with. And there were not a lot of people like joining in and jumping on, but most of them didn't know about it. So nobody's like getting informed, and not a lot of people are basically telling us and moving us into volunteering. Like I think that everybody, if you ask every person in the world, everyone's gonna say that yeah, I agree with volunteering and I do really respect it and I do support it. And most of them are not doing anything because they don't know what to do. They're out of ideas. And if you just ask your neighbor and be like, hey, is there anything I can do? That also could be something. If you can ask someone else to be like, is there anything I could do? You don't need to go and help an organization and help a shelter or something like that. You can just help the one who is literally next to you, who they might need something.
Well, so far for a fluent conversation, but no, thank you all. I think these are all very valuable insights. I see that we're already 40 minutes in. We wanted to keep this under an hour. So my next question will be also something that you all kind of touched upon already, but maybe if you could all very briefly, you don't have to give me like the solution or the fix, but in your opinion, how do you think we could get more people to volunteer? Like, what can we do so that more people would see the necessity, but also the value of volunteering? I think you all pointed one thing out already, but I'm gonna let each of you give very briefly, like give me your plan to fix the world.
Super. Who should start, or shall we fight?
Well,
I can go so that we can have a fight. I think okay, many schools, many companies already have their volunteering days, and that's good to get you in. But I think it's important to make volunteering cool. Sometimes people think that I have this perception that maybe just something for for a certain type of people and a person, and it doesn't have to be that. Actually, we have always said that volunteer can be for everyone, and so yeah, like you can just give back to the type of community you like to foster, and yeah, and also I think maybe share purposely what you do with your friends. Just say, this weekend I volunteered, and I went to the Red Cross and like help out there, and it was very good, and you should come.
I'm jumping on. Sorry, Luke. I took your place. For me, I think it should start from the parents. For me, like I said, a lot of parents are like, when their kids are young, they're like, you should help others out and all of that. But they could also like get them into volunteering at a young age, because I do not think that anyone will say no into the feeling that we all have tasted the feeling of you're doing something really to help someone else, and you see that smile on their face, and they're like, that's priceless. I don't think you can get it from anything else. And they were like, that you helped someone out and you made someone's day, week, month, just by doing something that was either hard or easy for you. So for me, it has to start from the families of like getting their kids at a young age to help out other people, and then this will just evolve into their teens helping out other people, and then vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree. I agree with both of those things, and I think that following on from the kind of parents' responsibility, I think schools and education systems can play a big part. Through PeaceJam, for example, when we have conferences, and we have children from schools come and attend the conferences, a big part of the conference that we push is what we call the kind of service projects, the kind of action parts of the project. That's the part of the weekend where the students will go out into the community and do something kind of useful, whether it's going to an elderly home or picking up litter in the area, or doing something that's really quite rewarding, with their experience. So I think that maybe schools and you think how many hours in the day young people go to school. Maybe if one of those days was you don't want to have compulsory conscripted volunteering, obviously, but if you could have some kind of volunteering day, it would be good for the young people while they're at school to get out, in the air. There's some wonderful kind of intergenerational programs and initiatives where kind of young people are mixed with older people. There's some brilliant examples in the USA and a few in the UK where they had an elderly home and they just created a nursery for sort of kindergarten thing in the elderly home. So now the young kids, they go to nursery and there's elderly people also there, mixing the two together, learning about each other. So again, if you could kind of implement something in schools where once a week or once a month, part of your school life was going to see some elderly people, or going to see some people in the community that you might otherwise not meet, it could start getting some of these conversations and these things happening very early on, and also giving you a bit of a sense of sort of social responsibility. Maybe if you get kids sort of cleaning up the area that they live in, they start taking more responsibility for it and seeing why it's important. So yeah, something like that I think would be quite a good way to start. And as Giulia said, I think it needs to be fun. It needs to be, you need to have, you can't have forced volunteering. That obviously takes away the whole point of it. I think it's a social experience, and I think there's a thin line, I think, as well, between, some people will volunteer solely, for their own benefit, to sort of make themselves feel better, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it is quite a good aspect of it that you do, you do feel, when you feel things like compassion and empathy, and just, the experiences when you kind of help someone or make someone's day, or you go and talk to an elderly person or clean up somewhere that you like, will physically release chemicals in your brain that create happiness. So that we can't deny that there is a kind of almost a selfishly positive experience out of volunteering as well, and it's just trying to explain that to people and getting them to experience it naturally too.
Yeah, I think these are all very true statements. I heard making volunteering sexy and cool, focusing on the upbringing of children, and also I think this is the answer to a lot of problems in the world, but focusing as well on education in schools and in extracurricular activities. Definitely, these are all part of the solution as a way to get more people into volunteering. Cool. I think right now, right on time, we can close things off. I don't know if there's anybody watching, but if you have questions for me, for us, for a specific person, please ask them. I'll open the chat. I'll give it like 1 or 2 minutes. Yeah, I don't know. While I'm doing that, you can all just take turns, maybe promoting your social media or current project that you're working on. And in the meantime, I'll just look for questions.
Mikhail, you can get things started. Tell us
I can
about
get
your.
started. Yeah. I want to say, because this is going for the European youth team, and I cannot promote just Greece, just PeaceJam Greece. Anyone watching, I think, should just drop by on peacejameurope.com. I think that's our site, and check it out. We are having a lot of things. We're having a lot of projects that we're running out. We have the Lords of the Future, which is something that Luke is running out, which is basically helping kids who have ideas to get them a good fund to start their ideas with, and basically support them. So yeah, I think you should just try and find out about PeaceJam and the European Youth Team, and then if you could message one of us or message the European Youth Team, and then they will follow you guys, and they will direct you to your international, not your national PeaceJam, if I said that correctly. Yeah.
Beautiful.
You put me on the spot, Luke. I was not ready for that.
Sure. So, as Mikhail mentioned, we do a lot of work with the PeaceJam European Youth Team. So you can go on to PeaceJamEurope.org, and you can learn a little bit about the European Youth Team from there, and the things that we're doing, and why we're doing this event alongside other activities and projects. I mentioned earlier the organization Rotary and Rotaract, which is Rotaract is the kind of youth wing of Rotary, and on your screen now you should be able to see a link to Rotary.org to learn a little bit about Rotary. There's definitely a Rotary club or Rotary group in your area, so you can connect with them and find some volunteering opportunities. And you're obviously very welcome to reach out to me on Facebook or wherever if you have any other questions or want to learn anything else about what we've been talking about.
Yeah, so Luke already mentioned Rotary. I'm involved in several projects, both with Rotary and another one I'm involved with is called European Footprints. And basically, we create content and we engage people around the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So these are not only environmental goals, but also there are goals around equality and like ending poverty around the world, and ending hunger, etc. So you can click on the link and then like see what we do, and of course we also welcome to have input from everyone who's interested. So
Cool. Thank you. There were not any questions in the chat, but who knows? In the future, in the VOD. More podcasts scheduled in the future. Yes, I think I talked about this very briefly in the beginning. We are planning on doing this every 2 weeks, but what day exactly? That's all really still up for debate. So yeah, if you'd like to participate in one of these talks, get in contact with us. If you have suggestions for certain topics to talk about as well, get in contact with us. Well, we're not that professional yet. We don't have a program yet, but maybe in the future, for sure, we can.
We're open to suggestions.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're offering to like make a program for us, then yeah, of course.
you can vote what you want to hear next.
Exactly.
There we are. We've got our next speaker.
Exactly. Yeah. There we go. Perfect. Yeah. Like I said, we're very new to this, so any remarks, questions, feedback, any criticism as well, feel free to, I don't know what people do in social media, but leave it down in the comments and post it somewhere, or don't vote, like, share, all that things. Do that, please. Then something else I want to promote myself is that with the European Youth Theme, we are co-facilitating an event in the end of May. This will be driving system change, corporate leadership for the SDGs. It's a very long title, but it's basically about how companies, corporations can take action to reach the sustainable development goals, and then specifically what PeaceJam, what the European Youth Team is doing, we are co-facilitating the last day when they will basically be discussing like youth leadership. This will be with a talk from Kailash, which is a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, and somebody from Unilever, a big company. Cool. This will be the last weekend of May, the 28th of May. It's free to attend, so if you have time, if you have nothing to do, please join us. You will see some of us there. Luke and I will be there for sure.
Super.
Cool. Like we said, we don't really. Kailash will be there. Thank you for all the. There's more people watching than I thought.
Great job. We don't have any closing podcast music yet.
Oh no. Should we sing? No,
you can sing. Yeah.
No, all of us. Not,
yeah, indeed.
No, we're just going out with a band. It's okay.
We'll get a PeaceJam Europe anthem together, and we'll perform it at the close of the next one.
Oh damn! So.
Well, I think somebody wants to hear your sing, Michael, but
no.
No,
it was Sudwi sing, not me alone. I'm not going again on the spot alone.
Whoa, that's a lot. See, maybe we should just do a whole thing on singing. It seems that all the comments are woken up on the
karaoke. Next week we're getting a karaoke.
Let's say next time there will definitely be some singing if you tune in and join.
For sure. Yeah, if you join us next time, there will definitely be singing maybe by Luke and by Michael, but by somebody.
By someone.
By someone. Yeah, exactly.
With Giulia performing some Vivaldi in the background.
Yeah, maybe on an ukulele. Yeah.
Lovely.
Okay.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Benoit. Thanks for having us on your show. And yeah, thank you all very much.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Yeah. Again, thank you all for dedicating your time to be here, taking some time out of your day to be here. I should end with like the typical social media thing, right? So thumbs up, like, subscribe, and yeah, until next time, right? Okay. Thank you very much.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Giulia. Bye, Mikhail. Bye, Benoit.
Goodbye, guys.